all this administrative stuff.
You observed it.
Hello?
Almost.
Huh.
Okay, now we are ready.
Okay, so you don't have to start recording yet. Why don't we just let Commander Clamp know that we are about to begin?
Okay, yeah, actually already started.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Oh,
Yeah.
then Commander Clamp,
Hi.
we're about to begin.
Okay,
we-
fantastic.
We actually have 3 members who are late, but we're gonna start now anyway, and they will wander in as they do.
Okay.
But not our usual thing,
um,
just so you.
So we're gonna start right now. Welcome to the May 1st, 2025 meeting of the Public Safety and Sanitation Committee. My name is Stuart Desser and I'm chair of the committee. Tonight, we're joined by Assistant District Manager Brendan Berth. This meeting is called to order at 18:34. New York State law requires all committee members who are not able to attend the meeting in person to have their cameras on, but that doesn't appear to apply tonight. Members of our community who are not on the board can raise your hand on Zoom or in person, or comment on the Q&A feature of Zoom. We need a volunteer to take minutes tonight. Hello, Justin. Would anyone like to volunteer?
Don't even look.
I'm
Never took minutes. I'm lousy at it. That's why I don't.
No, but you
But
should.
if you want me to go through the video in
Yes,
10,
thank you so much for volunteering so cheerfully.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm going to do so.
Yeah, others who are here can attest to the fact that the board office will, and when I mean the board office, I mean, in this case, will send you.
I
the
don't want
transcript.
any criticism. I'm just telling you up front. It's not my thing.
Keep the gavel then.
So,
So,
no, you'll get a transfer.
We're gonna take attendance now by roll call. Brendan will call the roll.
Okay, committee members, I will call your name. When your name is called, please say present. I'll announce if there is quorum. Stu Desser,
Present.
Justin Goldberg,
Present.
Gloria Hay,
Present.
Rupal Kakad, I know is on the way. Steve Perez,
Present.
Michael Monroe, I also know is on the way. And Ann Feldman,
Present.
we have a quorum.
Yeah.
So the agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and is reflected on the screen before you. If there's no objection, we'll adopt the agenda. Members of the committee, if you object to adopting the agenda, please raise your hand. Seeing no objection, the agenda is adopted. The minutes from the April 3rd meeting, I guess did everyone have an opportunity to see them? Okay, in that case, without objection, we will approve them. And they are approved. Committee members know the ground rules, so I'm not going to recite them. Without objection, we are going to suspend the rule that says you have to be recognized before you speak, but we will try to be orderly. So we're going to start with Commander Clamp. So Commander, welcome to our meeting. I should tell you, the commander's official rank is Deputy Inspector.
Yes,
Her position is commander. When I was introduced to her a few months ago, I wasn't sure how she would be addressed, so I asked her what people called her. And it turns out that there's some spicy language involved. So we're going to just address you as Commander Clamp, if that's
Okay.
okay.
okay, sounds good.
So we've called you here ostensibly to talk about the district needs, to get a sense of your district. This is the first time we've all met with you.
Yes,
So I think this is also an opportunity for us to get to know you. But I have, 1,000 questions to interrogate you with, but we're just going to start by asking you if you'd like to tell us how you feel, what you feel are the important issues in the district, where the needs are, where the problems are, and whatever else you want us to and what you think, your precinct needs that you don't have enough of or you don't have. So that's,
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much. And you could call me Maggie, you could call me Deputy Inspector Clamp. You can, whatever you feel the most comfortable calling me. I had like two different things going on. Can you still hear me?
Yeah,
Okay, fantastic. I had to shut off the computer. So, in terms of, I mean, overall crime, if I could just touch on that overall. Year to date, we've seen a 24% reduction in crime. In a 28-day period, there's a 13% reduction in crime. And our week to date, we have a 10.5% reduction in crime. We're also seeing many decreases, within our transit systems as well, that the 17 precinct, covers. So year to date, there's a 77.8% decrease in crime. 28-day is also an 85.7% decrease. And our week to date, we're 100% decrease in the stations that we conduct our directed patrols. Our retail
can
theft
you
has.
hold on one second? We have a
I just want to
question.
confirm these, when you're giving these numbers, you're comparing year over year, correct?
That's last year.
So you're saying like 28-day is 25, like 2025 versus 2024, or versus the 4 weeks prior? It's versus 2024.
Year over year, or
Like the same stat, if you were to look at, yeah, corresponding weeks.
Right. Does that make sense?
I'm not sure she understands.
I'm sorry, so you're giving us crime deduction, deduction.
Reductions, yes.
Is
Yes.
that this year versus last year, or is that over a
So,
certain period?
so yes, it's this year versus last year in the 28-day period that we're covering.
Mhm.
And when we look at where we were year to date in terms of our overall index crimes, this year to date, 234%, 234 crimes versus 308 last year. So there's a 24% reduction. And I know retail theft had come up at several other meetings that I have been invited to. We also have conducted multiple retail theft operations in which we do overall year to date have a 8.8% decrease. So we're doing very well in terms of our crime fighting strategies. What the areas that we would possibly perhaps cameras along maybe certain areas that may require some cameras, but outside of that, that would be my only suggestion, really. Perhaps like along like 34th Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenue along, I know that at our last meeting, people over who are residents over on Sutton have expressed some need for cameras along that area as well, along Sutton Place and along the promenade, really. Because I know that our last meeting with Keith Power's office, that was a notion that was brought up that if we could consider asking for cameras along the promenade, the Esplanade area. But outside of that, I think the community is very supportive and we appreciate the support that and the resources that you have given us thus far. So thank you.
Well, what will cameras do? You're not monitoring the cameras live, and they don't have the best resolution. How do they help you?
So they do help in investigative efforts along the way. In the event that an incident does take place, the detective squad, as well as patrol officers, when they respond, could review the camera footage to get more of an insight as to the description of the possible perpetrator, the direction of flight, and really aid in the investigative efforts.
So someone will actually look, if you get a call, someone may look 10 minutes after the call to see where somebody has gone?
Yes, yes, they do. Some cameras do have the ability to you could access it remotely.
So
And you can,
the officers in the field can actually see the video? or-
if given the proper, access code to that camera, if they're given that authorization, they could, yes. So in terms of, I'll give you, an example. We have a camera, we have actually a camera along a certain block. I can't really talk on it too much because it's a covert camera. And in terms of that, we're able to, access live feed from that camera in particular. So it has proven to be extremely helpful, but, that would be my only, suggestion if you're asking for my suggestions.
And we are asking for
Thank
that.
you. Thank
Do
you.
the cameras deter crime at all?
Yeah.
Do you know if the cameras deter crime? Do people not commit a crime because they see a camera there or?
I hope so. Does it help the investigation? Yes. Can I speak to, if it is a deterrence, I would like to say people are mindful of cameras being around and their abilities to help and enhance the investigative efforts and the apprehension efforts. Yes.
Okay, I'd like to just give you 3 questions about subjects that we are dealing with outside of this immediate topic, but then I will open this up to questions.
Okay.
First, this crime statistics don't tell us how many of the people who perpetrate crimes are homeless or emotionally disturbed. Uh, and I want to be clear that I'm not, there's danger in stereotyping homeless people as all being emotionally disturbed and all emotionally disturbed people being dangerous. And I hope I'm not doing that. But there's probably some degree of correlation. So do you observe any of that?
So in terms of, a correlation between people who do not have a home is what you're saying? And just so I get the question correctly. You're saying,
Well, there have been a few major crimes in the last 6 months by people who were actually sheltered but homeless. I mean, they were sheltered in shelters. Uh, and so the public perception, and of course, we know what goes on in the subway. People are scared. Is that a real concern or? That's not really statistically, you're not really concerned that people who are emotionally disturbed are driving the crime.
so, if in terms of any unprovoked acts on the street is what we're talking about, when we look at our felony assaults, right, with unprovoked attacks, 18%, which is like really 3 out of the 17 felony assaults, were unprovoked attacks. And that's in terms of our year-to-date numbers. And 2 of the 3 are actually close to arrest.
Okay. Another topic that we've been dealing with is electric bikes and scooters.
Yes.
That cannot be a foreign issue to you. In
No.
fact, so, we know, and we've heard people here testify about serious injuries, and we know that people who are mad are very vocal about it. At the same time, we know that the data says that automobiles and trucks are a lot more dangerous. So, we don't want, I guess we want to know, how do you allocate your resources? You know that people are really angry about these bikes and there's a sense of disorder, but they're not they're not the biggest threat that we face on our streets. So how do you deal with that?
So in terms of, our e-bikes and bicycles that are operating in a reckless manner, we have solely devoted many resources, specifically, if I could just speak to currently this week, what we have going on. We have a full-fledged operation going on effective Tuesday evening, and it's actually going on throughout the rest of the week, where we have issued a total of, so far, 71 summonses specifically geared towards e-bikes operating in a reckless manner. It's very concerning to us in terms of, we hear the community's concerns. We actually observe these violations. We address these violations. There was a series of educational operations that we conducted prior to notify the businesses, to alert their delivery people. The community concerns about operating these electric bikes on the sidewalk. We have I want to say, designated bike lanes that they could utilize. But they must adhere to the traffic, regulations, and they have to stop at the stop sign, and they have to, they're sharing the road with our most vulnerable population, which are our pedestrians. They have, and vehicle operators also complain about these e-bikes. So it's not just the pedestrians and the people who are visiting, it's also the people who are operating a motor vehicle. And we all want to navigate the roadway safely and get to where we have to get in one piece. And I think, and actually, I feel strongly about the enforcement efforts results that we have seen so far. There are times in which I'm there and I see vehicles stopping, adhering to the pedestrians, which is also a big deal for our pedestrians crossing in the crosswalk. And also I observe these e-bikes and bicycles as well adhering to stop signs, and I believe strongly that it's because of our proactive measures. I mean, if you want me to go over some other generated numbers, just so that you could understand what we've done so far in terms of these e-bike confiscations and with oath summonses. We've issued a total of 679 oath summonses last year. And this year so far, we're at 430, and the year's not over yet. So to say that we're proactively addressing the community's concerns is really very much there.
But at the same time, we know that more people are injured by motorists, by people in automobiles and trucks than on e-bikes. So how do you balance your resources in that?
Yes,
in that?
so in terms of, we added 2 additional police officers to the traffic safety team. And with that said, the traffic enforcement efforts have shown that we've addressed hazardous conditions such as speeders, these contributing factors that have resulted in collisions. So we look at the data, look at what's the primary concern and the primary contributing factor of these collisions, and that's our primary focus for that week. At times, it varies from day to day. So the directives are very much there to our patrol officers and more specifically to our traffic safety officers.
Okay, and one other subject that we're dealing with here is not directly with you, but it's discovery law, which, as you know, is being negotiated right now in Albany. But one of the bills in Albany, S613, proposes giving prosecutors direct access to police records. Are you familiar with that? And the reason for this is that prosecutors complain that one of the reasons they have difficulty satisfying discovery time limits is because they have difficulty getting the evidence out from police departments, not just NYPD, but NYPD in the case of our. So one of the propositions is that we give prosecutors direct access to your your data systems, basically, that contain the evidence. Are you familiar with that? How do you feel about it?
So currently what we have is we have an officer that's specifically assigned to gather the information and directly ensure that the DA's office has everything that they need in terms of discovery. The officers are primarily responsible for sending that immediately. So upon making an arrest, they send that information immediately in a package form to the district attorney's office. And so everything is within compliance of the discovery laws. Furthermore, in the event that there's an item that they are requesting, then at that point, what we do is that the officer who's primarily responsible for compliance with discovery will submit that immediately. And we're doing very well in terms of ensuring that the sharing of the body worn camera footages and any other documents that's required by the district attorney or the defense team.
Okay, committee members? And
Yeah, I'm just curious, that you hear all these great stats and I hear them all the time, and yet people feel like that, I grew up in the seventies, like I know what New York is like in the seventies. And it seems that people feel like that's where we are living, and by the numbers, we are not. And I just wonder if you have any suggestions. I know it's not your job, but, if there are things that you do that we may be able to piggyback on to, or help foster, to help improve people's, sense of security.
Yeah, so, thank you. I know perception of safety is huge, and I can give you all these, all the numbers, all the accurate data, right, that we collect here as an organization, but I cannot change the way a person feels, right? But what I would really like to stress that in the event that you, see something or feel uncomfortable, or you feel like you're in fear for your safety, please call 911. And if you see something that seems a little odd, that doesn't really typically require a 911 call, then please utilize 311, because that's a system in which, requires an accurate response. That's a system that, I look at every week, and we try to improve the conditions in the area. So, quality of life is huge in terms of perception of safety for me, right? Because you had asked how I feel and what I see and what I do. I would also recommend, for people not to be as distracted when they're walking down the street. Right, in terms of on your phone, and there are times in which, you may need to look down at your text, but maybe go to an area where you feel a bit more safe, as opposed to, just looking down at your phone, crossing the street, and being somewhat distracted. Just so that you're somewhat alert, and being a New Yorker, we have to, look around a lot. You never know if there's a car or somebody behind us, or maybe somebody even asking for directions. Just, if you don't want to engage somebody, that's okay to just be okay to walk away and not engage in a conversation with that person. There are times in which sometimes many of our, residents and visitors engage in conversations that at times, don't end so well, and then they get into a dispute, and that really elevates to something that should not.
So let's just talk about crime prevention for a second,
Yes.
which is obviously something you care about. To what extent, and I don't mean this to be a blame the victim, but to what extent do people or businesses that are victimized by crime somewhat responsible because of their own behavior or their own protocols?
You mean getting into a fight?
I mean, anything from a business that doesn't protect its, that may not use the right methods for preventing criminal conduct, and I don't know what that means.
And how would you qualify that?
I'm sorry,
How would you qualify that?
what do you mean by how?
Like, what do you mean? Like, what would define?
Well, if someone, we know someone's walking down the street, they've got those Apple headsets on, they're paying no attention, somebody will bike by and grab them. Is that person responsible to agree? I mean, are there ways that we can all be more proactive about being self-protective?
In terms of, a person walking down the street listening to a device on their headset, I would just recommend not for them not to listen to it very loud, so that they're mindful if they hear a car honking, or they see someone, or someone's yelling, or if someone seems somewhat like they're going through a crisis, they might be, emotionally disturbed. At that point, they can utilize 311. If they fear for their safety, they can call 911. And you said, what was the other part of the question?
Well, businesses also, I mean, do you go, do your crime prevention officers go out and advise businesses or homeowners?
Yes, yes. So,
and-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
So typically what happens, in the event that, a crime is committed or a complaint is generated, we have a crime prevention officer, Officer Carney. He actually goes out to many of these businesses. There are and offers leaflets, educational material. He'll conduct a security survey in terms of, just advising what areas in which you could put your cameras and different, tools you can utilize to keep your business and and the people who work within your business safe.
And I think
What do you
just,
do- Sorry, can I, what do you do to kind of advertise that? Like, how do people know about that?
So, during the time when they interact with the police officers, they will be asked, would you be comfortable with the crime prevention officer reaching out to you, coming out, conducting a crime survey for you? And then they would say yes, and at times people agree, and then there are times in which they don't want the police in their business or in their apartment. In
Is
the,
there, but is there a proactive, like any proactive
yes,
outreach?
so we have multiple outreaches throughout the month. We also advertise it at the community council meetings. And Officer Carney is there, so he can have a conversation with anyone. We also have, our Zoom, so many of the people who cannot attend the community council meeting and they can attend on Zoom, they're aware of, the information that we have, and if we're always here to help. They could always reach out to the community, affairs officers as well and schedule that.
and we're gonna be talking later about Blink NYC. Isn't that, would you want to see, invitations basically to contact, your community, your, crime prevention officer for advice?
Sure, yes, and I mean, anywhere that we can help and make the, residents and New Yorkers feel safer, any way that we could help is we're here for it.
Okay, and Justin, and when Justin speaks, the owl is going to look at him, and behind him, you're gonna see Matt.
Oh, okay. Oh, good. Matt's there. Oh, fantastic. Hi, Matt. How are you?
No, I was just repeating what Ann said. I don't have any,
Oh.
yeah, I'm still thinking.
Oh,
Well,
sorry, I should've-
Then it was an opportunity to see Matt.
Okay.
I'm
Thank
still-
you.
yeah, no.
See, I shouldn't have stepped on you.
Hi, I have a question.
Mine seems boring.
One of the, actually the top, budget requests on the expense side for our community board is, additional traffic enforcement officers.
Okay.
And every year it's actually not from this committee, it's from our transportation committee. So I'm just giving voice to their request because I see it every year. And we have you here, so we might as well ask you. Every year we submit this request, or they submit the request, and it's basically requesting additional officers to deal with all the kind of traffic incidents that we've already talked about, whether they be sidewalk or, roadway incidents or whatever they may be. But the response that we have gotten is that the agency does not support this and cannot accommodate, please remove the request. So I'm just curious if you have any insight into that, or, I mean, part of it is, we asked you, what do you need? You didn't tell us, well, I need more traffic enforcement officers, but the transportation committee keeps saying we do. So I'm just curious what your take is on that item.
Okay, so in terms of traffic agents and not traffic, and NYPD traffic officers, right, that are assigned to the 17th precinct is what you're saying?
I mean, I'm not sure what the distinction is. The request is simply says for additional traffic enforcement officers, and the agency is NYPD.
Okay, so I can tell you in terms of, what we've done here, in the 17th precinct, much like I stated earlier. We initially started off, last year in 2024 with only one traffic enforcement officer here, right? So he's a police officer assigned specifically to the traffic program in the 17th precinct. Hearing everyone's concerns and knowing what it is that we see in terms of elevated, cyclists and people commuting via two-wheel devices, as well as traffic as a whole. We added 2 additional police officers, and the hours vary. So we have coverage during the early morning hours, and I want to say about 5 o'clock in the morning until 1 o'clock. And then we have, afternoon to the evening hours, which is from 11 o'clock until about 8 o'clock at night. So we have coverage in terms of on our end. Traffic officers that are assigned that they direct traffic, they issue parking summonses. That would be on their end. I can say that, of course, we would love them. We would love a traffic officer on every corner, obviously. But that's on their end, and if they're giving you whatever their response is, then there's only so much they can do, I believe.
And when you say there, and you mean there's a different division in NYPD or?
It's a different unit within the NYPD. Yes.
The people that have the traffic on the people who have
Yes.
traffic on their
Yes,
tabs.
and it's
as a-
yes.
Got it. And when you say you added 2 new people, are those new hires or were you just reallocating resources?
Yes, so we reallocated resources
Okay.
and what I would love to do moving forward for this summer is have our bike team out again. Last year, due to many unscheduled protests, we could not have them out and on their bicycles because they were we required their services elsewhere. But we'll see. That's the
Get
plan.
ready for more protests, seriously.
I know.
So I should say you're one of the few human beings on life that doesn't have a lot of wants. You seem pretty content with the resources you have, other than cameras. But Gloria has a question.
Okay.
Yeah, first, I hope you can hear me. I have a mask on. First, I would just like to say thank you.
Thank you.
I think, I do look at the NYPD statistics because I actually do like facts.
Okay.
Over
Thank you.
perception.
Thank you. Okay.
And I have noticed the reduction of crime. I just want to thank you for your efforts on that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
But you probably are not gonna be able to answer this, because you might think it's too political. But many politicians, and I can think of a few, will use, oh, we are so unsafe. Oh, we have a public safety crisis. There's crime everywhere and you need me and I'm gonna get tough on crime. Yet your numbers are showing a little bit of a different story. How do you personally or the police department manage that? And why aren't they talking more about the great work that they're doing?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking out the time and going off of the hard work that really your police officers here in the 17th are doing on a daily basis. And just because the previous week we were down in crime, their relentless efforts are definitely there every day, day in, day out. Especially in a precinct such as ours, is very unique. We're more of a daytime, very, very busy during the evening hours as well. And our officers are proactively 24 hours doing what they need to do. How do we do it? We have a plan. We set it in place. We have relentless follow-up on our end. And and they're into ensuring that we continue our commitment to the community to keep you all safe.
And as a follow-up, I'm assuming that information goes to like governors and council people and senators of this, they know the data.
Yes, it's
And
public, yes.
so, my concern is, I worry about people's perceptions when they're put in a place of fear that might be unnecessary. I'm not talking about just being conscious of your environment. We're New Yorkers, we all do that. But I'm just seeing political exploitation of non-factual crime. And that concerns me. And I know you're probably gonna avoid the answer because you're gonna have to. But it seems to me that you all should be talking more about how much safer New York is becoming and what you're doing, and let more people know, the people know about it.
Well, that's why a meeting such as this meeting, our community council meeting, is so important because you could all help us along the way in changing the perception.
Yeah,
So
well,
thank
thank
you.
you so much. I appreciate it.
Michael Ann has a question.
Hi.
But you're muted. Now
Yeah.
you're not.
Thank you very much. Sorry, it took me a little bit to get on here. I was en route. Thank you for your service. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on here. Learning a lot being on this Safety and Sanitation Committee this year. But, and one of my resolutions that I wanted to pass had to do with the bike safety. And we know it's the all-time biggest, complaint. I just wanted to get your take on how does the precinct, if you have, if you could share, how does the precinct feel about having all of these micromobiles licensed? Would it help you with your data, giving us data? Because we know that we don't have this data to prove that there's a lot of accidents and they're in the way, on the sidewalks and on the streets. But I just wanted to get your perspective on that.
I mean, any, whatever information that we could have that would help us, our investigative efforts, right? Because that's what we were talking about earlier. Cyclists, rather at our community council meeting, we were speaking about cyclists hitting pedestrians and then at times they flee the scene. Obviously, if they were registered and there was some sort of unique number that was assigned to that particular vehicle, if you will, it would assist us with camera footage and we could go a bit further and further enhance the investigative efforts. So yes, I mean, any bit of information, even if you see something and you're walking in the street and you see someone get, I mean, unfortunately, if they're hit by a cyclist and you can gather whatever information, please call us and let us know, the person fled this way, was wearing whatever outfit, and maybe at times there are very unique distinctions on the bike, like markings or words or, and that usually helps out a lot as well while we're taking the report.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So Matt, what questions? Hi, please, speak loud because this little thing is the only thing that's listening to you.
Okay, do I have to say my name?
No.
Okay,
If you'd like.
I have a question about, an area where a camera is located. It's not like in the best area.
Okay.
It's facing my son's bedroom.
Oh.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you shade down.
Do you feel comfortable maybe talking, maybe offline, maybe reaching out to me later? Because I wouldn't want you to give me your full address and everything on.
Okay, I didn't know where to go to get this resolved because.
You came to the right place.
Yes.
See, even if you are not even comfortable doing that, if you wanna go.
Okay, I
Yeah,
know.
so email.
You could reach
help.
out right to Matt. I think is he sitting right there?
I'm sitting right here.
Yeah, Cory, yeah.
Yes.
we can talk.
Okay,
Sure.
thank
We'll take
you.
care of that. Thanks for.
Yeah,
thanks
because,
for
yeah.
coming.
Thank you so much.
So Matt, good that you're here.
Yeah.
What
You
questions
don't
did we
Yeah.
not pose to Officer, to Commander Clamp that we should have?
I think you covered pretty much everything. We don't have a lot of issues with the 17th. I mean,
Yeah,
it's mostly a quality of life issue.
Yeah.
Go a little bit to the west, it's a different story. As you get into Times Square and the heart of Midtown. Yeah. But from the 17th perspective, I think we're in good shape.
Well, the quality of life issues are quality of life issues.
I mean, I have thought that this committee maybe should be changed, like have a name change to the because like public safety and sanitation.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of meetings going on with the shelters and the precinct to, reiterate the best practices and staying, clear of sidewalks and loitering and all of that stuff, so. But yeah, I mean, it's really, a lot of the issues that we have here are grand larcenies, identity theft, scams, people leaving their belongings unattended, and really, and even some, a lot of the more serious crimes are an product of people not paying attention.
Yeah.
Phones out on the street, looking at their smartwatches. In terms of get like an accident, or like in terms of somebody coming wrong. Yes, being a victim of crime.
Yeah, leaving your laptop on an outside table when you go in to get a coffee.
Those are two a little bit, one is kind of robbery and the other is kind of like something, well, I suppose, I don't know how.
Yeah, I mean, it's, yeah.
It's a little bit
speaking of
different.
kind of, but it's
Yeah.
basically, there's a lot of, it's a lot of crime prevention learnings that, and that's really what we try to. you know,
Well, and then maybe that answers part of, so we want cameras, but we also want more active crime prevention, it sounds
Yes.
like.
Okay,
And, you know, the kiosks may be,
Yeah,
an
could use them.
answer to that.
Yeah.
Can I mention something? Or
And
done?
please do.
So a few kind of notes I took, but my first question was, and this is what Gloria was saying was, you mentioned, firstly, thanks for coming, Commander Clan.
Thank you.
Had a chance to thank you. I was wondering about, you said that crime has gone down year to year. How did you, maybe I missed this, but how is that measured? Like what are, like in terms of like, what metrics? So,
Index crime, you mean, or?
well, just in general, maybe I missed that, but she said that like year over year statistics have gone down. Gloria mentioned about the importance of, you know, bringing that awareness to the community. What, like, when you say that, are like, what metrics, but also like, what do you feel has contributed the most to that? Maybe that's more the question I wanted to ask. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
what, not just the metrics, but like, what is the year over year, like, what's the change?
What's
right?
driving it?
Yeah, what's driving it?
So the change really is, and police officers engaging with the community is the key. So there, and I keep going back to the uniqueness of our command, because there are many times in which we have visitors from other countries, different
Yeah.
areas of the
Yeah, sure.
world, right? And they may not be aware that what it is that they're doing right then and there is considered a crime. So
Okay.
when I state that it begins with engagement, the officers have to look for, is there an issue on this block? And almost scan is the direction that I like to give, right? Scan each block, see how do things look here? Let's fix whatever is out of place, right? So if there's a double parked car, you have to physically get out of the vehicle. You have to approach that double parked motorist. If there's someone in the car, just you could ask them to leave. There are a number of things that we can do. It's not always enforcement efforts, but there are times in which there are people who refuse to listen to the police, in which case we have to conduct enforcement measures. And so that's what I feel that utilizing discretion, utilizing engagement, followed by enforcement, if the issue is not resolved, is where we are right now as a command, and year to year to year. I was assigned here in 2023, and I've seen significant improvement overall in the quality of life I hear from community members. And I would love to change everyone's perception of safety, but I know that if you look at where we currently stand, we're doing very well.
So just one quick follow-up. What I was gonna say is one of the reasons I asked that is because Commander Clamp mentioned the importance of community engagement. And one of the reasons I was even interested in the whole Lincoln NYC thing from the beginning is, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, is I think that there may be ways to encourage more community, I don't know if involvement is the right word, but engagement, awareness of the importance of public safety. And also, you know, giving a shout out to our police officers who have helped us so much. I mean, I think that goes a long way too. So maybe there's a way we can take a little of the feedback and also find a way to message it in a way that's, you know, both augments the effort and increases in community engagement.
And
Thank you.
Yeah, I've actually got two really quick things. One is, I have an understanding that, of all the major crimes, rape is the only one that has increased citywide. I don't know if that's true in our precinct. And, the other thing is, I just wanted to say, my 91-year-old mother, who also lives in this precinct, just loves that she sees more cops out of their cars and on the street.
Oh,
And so
thank
I
you.
want to
Thank
applaud
you.
you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's exactly what actually brings a big smile to my face, because that's exactly what I love to hear, that people are seeing the change and they're actually feeling safer. I had someone approach me. I was in the middle of a protest. They flagged me down and they said, now I feel comfortable going to the store knowing that things are getting better. So makes me feel good. and I pass it along to the officers, and that helps, it goes a long way. So thank you. I appreciate that. In terms of our, rape, the rape laws have changed. So that definitely, has played a significant role in how we document and record, rape. So we do have an increase year to date, 28 day and week to date, and all of which are being investigated specifically by the Special Victims Unit. So
Are these stranger rapes or, I mean, or people who know each other?
well, but here, many times they're known to the victim. And there are times in which, they schedule a meeting and they just met someone on a website and yes, that's as far as I can talk about, the complaints.
Okay, Rupal?
So you mentioned that the laws around rape has changed. What do you mean by that? Is it the definition
The
that's
definition,
changed,
yes, the
so is
definition.
it including more instances, or like it's broadening the definition?
Yes, it's broadening the definition. Yes, sorry.
And so Matt mentioned quality of life and we've mentioned that. How do you deal with, I mean, that sounds like one of the big issues in the precinct. How do you deal with the quality of life issues?
How do I deal with the quality of life issues overall?
Yeah,
So same thing, it begins with engagement. The officers exit their vehicle. They inform the public whether it is that they're committing a crime, or they're obstructing vehicular traffic, or they're operating their bicycle in a reckless manner. All these, if they're drinking in public and not necessarily in a bar or at a restaurant. And it begins, sorry about that. It begins with community engagement, and then enforcement efforts are made.
okay. We've used a lot of your time. Are there more questions?
Also, I just want to just follow up too, in terms of quality of life. We review the 311 system constantly and look for any other sources of complaints. So such as noise, if there's a dispute between two neighbors, we have really, and this is a good forum for me to talk about it. If you know anyone who is not really getting along with their upstairs neighbor due to noise complaints, we are very interested in mediating that if possible. There are times in which the neighbor, it may be unaware that the television is too loud, that the kids are running back and forth, and we live in the city, right? So we want to be kind to our neighbors. We may not be aware of it. So if you're interested in doing that, or if you know someone who may benefit from it, so please reach out to our crime prevention officer, and we'll facilitate that as best as we could.
So you see, every time you go off on a new branch, you raise a new question.
I'm sorry. I enjoy talking to everybody. You know, whatever feedback I get from you all helps me devise a new plan, and I mean, we're here to work things out and try to make things better. So
That's great. We should have brought food, but
I'm sorry.
but 311, you don't unless 311 deems something to be an emergency, you don't see the 311 complaint live, right? I mean, it could take
Oh,
you.
no, we do.
Explain that.
So the way it is that you phone 311, we have a terminal here where the officer monitors it closely, the desk officer. Officers out on the field also receive the 311 calls on their phone because they're programmed into any 311 call that's generated in the confines of the 17th precinct. And yeah, they go out and they investigate it.
Michael Ann.
Hi, pertaining to 311, do you feel like there's information missing that could be very helpful for you? I feel
Yes.
like on our end, as a user, we don't quite have the drop down menu. But yeah, please tell me how you feel about that and your communication with I guess, the 311 team.
So personally, what I've done is that, so every day I read our 301 complaints for the 24-hour time frame. And there are times in which I personally, when you leave your number, I'll call you back and find out, because there's information that seems to be missing. And I really want to grasp exactly what it is that your concern is about, so that I can allocate the proper resources to address it at the time that needs to be addressed. So I ask anyone using the 311 system, please continue to utilize the 311 system. Does it connect you to a person that you could speak to?
I use the app because I feel like the app is much more productive, and I wonder
Okay.
too, as you're answering this, if you feel like, do you know when they're answering through the app as opposed to?
No,
Oh, because I have to say, oftentimes when you call, they don't know where to query, they don't know where to put that blanket, that complaint.
okay,
And so that's what I meant, kind of, are there things missing on 311 that you wish were better in terms of gathering that information and then being able to, obviously extrapolate it into something that makes sense. But I find as a user, there's things that are missing. I mean,
okay, I'll write that.
I could start making notes on it, but I always encourage people to use the 311 app. It seems
Okay,
to be much better than getting a person in
Oh.
that term. And then, use
Oh,
putting those
right.
pictures forward right away are absolutely a game changer, I feel, than speaking to someone. So I always try to, even if we had like outreach on how to, for the community to learn how to use 311 better, it would be so much better.
oh, then consider it done. We'll arrange it and we'll contact you all and send you the flyer, and you can just
Yeah.
alert everybody else. So I like that, to 311. Gotcha. I'm on it.
you.
All right.
Sorry, I just have a clarification question. You said the app, when you use the app, that's not responded to in real time, but the phone, like if somebody gets on the phone, it is? Is that what you said, or am I mistaken?
I thought you said that you don't even know if it's the
Yeah,
phone
yeah,
or
they
the
don't-
app.
Okay, so I was, okay.
Is that correct? When you get the 311 service request, you don't know if it came in on the telephone or on the app. You just see
Yes.
it's.
Okay, so even if somebody puts it in through the app, it still gets responded to in real time?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
But you
I
see the
think I
picture, you see the
Yeah.
pictures?
So, oh yeah, the pictures are extremely helpful, by the way. So if you could upload and just remind, well, we'll put together the outreach and we'll just really focus in on how important it is to upload the photograph, because that's extremely helpful, because there are times in which we respond to a 311 call and that issue is no longer an issue. But
Yeah.
maybe at that specific
Wow.
time, every night, it becomes right? So it helps out a lot.
And that's how we know it's almost impossible for you to get to a biker that's obviously almost run over an
Yes.
elderly person or
Yes.
anyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think the way we'll close this is we will ask you if you can provide us the locations where you'd like to see cameras.
Okay.
And also if there's someone at the precinct with whom we can be in touch, so we can talk about coordinating some Link NYC outreach. Or it could be Matt for that matter.
Yeah, we can work with probably crime prevention to.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Trying to.
That's why you're here. Well, you're here tonight. Thank you. Great. We'll work it out with Matt.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks for
you
the
so much
invite.
for listening.
Bye.
Thank you.
You.
So I think we're going to move on to DSNY now, unless anyone wants to discuss how we're going to deal with this. And I'm looking at you because I know this is your biggest interest is the budget requests. But I think we sort of
Not DGA.
I think we sort of understand what the precinct wants, and I think that's probably what we want to support. Is that a fair?
I will say that our current budget requests don't really reflect that, so I think we need to revise it.
Well,
I don't think that we should, I mean, we've read the current budget request, but I don't think that we should try to, you know, I mean, we didn't write it, it's from the past.
so one thing though, I mean, I noticed we had like noise complaints as like one of our two items or addressing noise issues and, um,
Well, not from this committee.
These are the two.
The only
requests
two
that-
we have are related to DHS, police and security and homeless shelters and public waste basket.
well, I just wanna look at that and I did the filter.
I thought noise was right up there,
Yeah, I did too.
like it's usually, I mean, that's bad, he
Well,
all the
what
time.
I was gonna say is I thought maybe it
Before you
was,
leave,
oh, you know what, it's not on this form, it's on one of the
Let me
other.
just ask Matt, while we still have him here, we started raising concern with DHS, about DHS police and shelters last time. The response from DHS was not, promising to be. Does that seem like something where, and, you know, I mean, I hate to just be reactive, it's like, there's been no crime, no major crime there for a year, so do we care?
That shelter, the shelter that we burned to was slated for temporary growth. The massive renovation project, right? So, in the company in that particular location, but still something that, you know, appropriateness of security should still be paramount. When it comes to their shelter, that's obviously one thing, especially where you have high concentration of shelters in city.
But it's not an issue right this minute.
I mean, you heard what the inspector said, I mean, crime right now is not what it was a couple of years ago. I believe it was end of 2022 or something like that, where we had that incident, which triggered everything, and, you know, that doesn't mean, you know, tomorrow, it won't, you know, crime won't surge again, so, but it's, you know, it's something that should probably be tabled until such time when that particular facility reopens. But, you know, by and large, I don't think DHS police will ever, and by the way, for those who are new to the community, the purpose of DHS police is arrest capability within the shelter facility. If it's private security, they have to call the police.
Yeah.
If there's an incident, so if two people don't get along, they, you know, have a dispute, then now the police have to go, and that's happened several times a day.
Unfortunately.
Is that the answer?
Yeah, DHS police used to be in the shelter, which is being renovated now, and there's still a pretty street fence shelter. But what happens is now private security. Budget cuts come along, private security goes in there, they weren't screening, so they're in homicide in the facility, and now you've got through security. And so that's where, you know, we raised the flag that, you know, everything was fine up until that year, when budget cuts came, and, but it's something that should be looked at for the problematic locations. Cause you don't want the inspector to have to send officers over there, you know, multiple times a day to
Yeah.
resolve disputes. A lot of that can be escalated internally if the right.
With the right security, or even the right staff.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of times it's just a relationship within the facilities.
It's not gonna de-escalate.
Are we moving on to sanitation or does
I'm just on the budget request too, I know, I'm not sure what we're going to be changing because
Good software.
if we're going to be adding anything based on this discussion. But the cameras came up and I just want to raise that again because as you know, we kept going back and forth with the cameras between us and parks.
Well, but that was a different situation.
Yeah, because that was
the
parks,
diagonal, right?
right, but that was a part, so this is a street issue.
Right.
But my understanding also about these cameras is, I just don't wanna go down this path again. The cameras is an allocation from city council funding. That's how they get
Not-
funded.
Not
They do
It's
not get
part of
funded
it.
through this budget request, so if we put them in there, we're gonna get a
No.
response that says, we do not, we will not.
It'll be a waste of a
Yeah, it'll be a
That is
waste of a
so-
request.
Like,
So-
such a valuable piece.
That
of
is really useful
information.
information.
Well,
Yeah,
we can, we can still put that in the district needs, or it doesn't help.
but is there?
Doesn't really help us, like,
Yeah.
it would, what we need to do is talk to the city council rep
Right,
to get their fund, they fund those cameras. And
and
then,
it is an election
So,
year,
yeah.
so.
if you want them, I'm just saying, that's where you go. You don't put it in the budget request.
Okay. So. You're right, where are we going? With the budget request?
I mean, it's an open question. I don't think we have any budget requests on security related issues for the, NYP. I don't think we have a budget request for NYPD. Like, I just
Right.
doesn't seem like we
It-
need to put something in there NYPD related.
Matt, I'm sorry, you may not want to get out of here, but do you have any insights from from the 13th precinct?
I don't know what 13th precinct would want. I know they're among the precincts that are being used as a pilot program for the quality of life teams, which we kind of already have in the 17th.
Yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. You have to reach out to that or my counterparts or.
Well, we have, they're dealing with May Day protests right now, but we can see if that can come to us next month. Okay, sanitation. Sanitation, you all saw the notes that Brendan and I took from the meeting. My feelings are that the biggest need is data. You know, we just spoke with NYPD, they're data driven.
yeah,
DSNY doesn't seem to be driven by data at all. And it also hinders us because we can't go around patrolling the streets ourselves and decide this is where the problem is. So my sense is one of our requests is to, and the New York State Comptroller has suggested that they really should be aggregating the different sources of data that they have. So I think that might produce a budget request. In terms of technology, basically. Any feelings about that?
I agree. I can't make any decisions or do anything without data, like, otherwise it's just waste of resources, money, waste of everything.
My only question is, do we know why they're not using the data? Is
Well,
it just they don't have the personnel to do it,
What
or
data?
why is it a budget request?
So there's at least three sources of data.
yeah. But I mean, what data are we not finding? Or are you just saying they should be combined?
Well, I'm saying that first of all, we're not seeing them. Thank you
Thanks,
very
Matt.
much.
It's nice to see you.
You're welcome whenever.
So there's, first of all, there's the, I'm blanking what it's called now, but the mayor's, report, the mayor's.
Monthly
office-
management report.
I'm sorry?
The mayor's management.
No, well, yes, it's in the management report, but it's got a specific name. Anyway, the mayor's office has people patrol in cars and they report on the cleanliness of different blocks. The comptroller criticized that because the people in the cars couldn't necessarily see what's on the sidewalks. So now the mayor's office has actually instructed people sometimes to get out of the cars and look at the sidewalks. So there's some data from that. We do have the 311 data, but it's incomplete. So what we see is a location, a date. We see the disposition by the department, which is very simple. It's either we should notice a violation. We clean something up ourselves. The complaint was unfounded by the time we got there. We don't have DSNY data, so we don't know how they responded to it. We don't know if these indicate larger problems. We don't know if they need to respond faster to certain incidents. So that's another source of data. Then there's two different commands, I guess is a way to express it, that issue summonses. There's apparently a citywide enforcement officers. And then there's the supervisors within, District 6. And you know that the sanitation district and the community board district exactly overlap. Um,
So they're not community district four, they're actually, sorry, the community board overlaps with them or the
community boards, and sanitation districts have exactly the
Okay.
same boundaries, and that's not by accident. So those are at least three sources of data that could be used, but are being used only casually by DSNY. And Brendan is nodding his head. It would be, so we were both at that meeting, so I think we saw the same issue.
Yeah,
And Michael Ann is smiling, so we don't know why, but she's amused by something. Oh, now she's raising her hand. Go for it.
No, I just find it quite ironic that, we always have to come up with this data when we're doing resolutions and, they come up with these facts and all this, I guess, information for us, but if we don't have this data, I mean, and if they don't have the data, then I don't know, how is it all
So,
working?
so that's why I think our want should be that they start producing data.
Is,
Yeah.
is that a DSNY or is that a do it?
Well, I think it's gotta start with DSNY wanting it, and requesting it. There's also a DOT issue that the way they put it, so we asked, some streets are always just cleaner than other streets. Yet the alternate side of street schedules are the same, the same number of days, no matter what. And when we said, so shouldn't you be looking at data and deciding where you should better allocate your resources? They said, well, we just do where DOT tells us, the alternate side of street is. And I think the responses to that is, well, you should be telling DOT where the needs
Yeah.
are. So
Exactly.
once again, I think our primary want is just to get DSNY to produce data.
Yep. Yeah.
So
Right.
that was the full discussion, I think, and I think.
Well, I was gonna say, one of the things that kind of sort of folds into the data is, and you talked about a little bit in the conversation, is like the whole question of bids and what their role is in trash collection. And I don't know that they're a possible source of data. But I have a sense they probably kind of have a gut sense of it. But I don't know, I mean, it's certainly, they're probably not the right ones to gather the data, but we have a lot of bids in this.
First of all, I think that they do operate exactly on gut, and
Yeah.
and let's be fair, they do know their district.
Right, that's what I'm
Um,
thinking,
They, they know that there's people out there patrolling.
yeah.
But first of all, we don't know what they're seeing. We don't know if they're responding as well as they could respond. We don't know if they're allocating resources. I walk down some streets and they're still pretty dirty. There's, the trash is not put out well.
I even think it's sort of seasonal, sort of time of day, day of the week and stuff too.
And again, when we talked about rodents, they said, well, that's not us.
Right.
That's, but of course,
There is a
you
relationship.
put out these new trash bins because they're rodent resistant. You're instituting containerization because of the rats. So of course, you bear some degree of responsibility. And you should have the data. So
You'd think it would help them.
you think so. But
Absolutely.
many don't, many organizations don't like data because they'd rather be driven by their own sense of propriety and what's right. Is your yellow hand raised or it's just there?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, someone just recently reached out to me. I know him from doing green and cleaning, took over his committee with the Murray Hill Neighborhood Association. And he now wants to do a survey in our neighborhood about the receptacles. He's gonna take this on with his nephew to do a survey on the receptacles that are there or not in our community. So I'm gonna get back to him on that. But yeah, I mean, this is just like, it's kind of like, why don't you, what is the real reason you do not have this data? Is it because they're gonna be held accountable more if they do have this data that really is not you know, in their favor, I guess. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but I think I think it's a good line item to put on the budget.
So
I agree.
and the other issue, of course, is getting those trash bins actually out,
Right.
back onto the corner. And actually other data that we would like is how fast those trash bins fill up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which is information they also don't seem to have. They know that they collect twice a day, but again, are they doing it frequently enough?
Yeah. Do they know why those new trash bins are taking so long?
They don't, they shrug their shoulder, but it's apparently not their fault.
Manufacturing problem.
They've apparently been ordered and, you know, maybe they're now subject to tariffs.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if they're on a ship coming from China, that's not happening.
Who knows? Brendan's raising his arm. So I guess we should let him speak.
Sure, yeah, at some point that, I mean, yeah, they didn't really go into specifics as to why, although they did also mention that these new so-called better bins, which are supposed to help provide protection against rats, are supposed to be easier for sanitation workers to work with, et cetera, are also apparently more expensive than
Yes.
previous bins, so.
And can only be bought from the city.
Yeah, so reading between the lines, like they didn't say, oh, it's taking longer because they're more expensive. But reading between the lines a little bit, it almost sounds like money is at least somewhat of a factor.
So we can add that to our request. I would propose that we move on to the next agenda item, but I don't see Justin. So
Can move on and go back.
I'd
we'll,
say, yeah.
we'll skip.
But can I just say one, like, there were other budget, issues, like you sent us three documents. And the one of them that I was playing around with a little bit, but we were all able to edit it, and so it was a little bit confusing to know what the original was. But that we have, noise as one of the issues on that. And I wonder if congestion pricing makes that a little bit less of an issue. Because I think that was, but I had second thoughts about that when I heard the captain say, talking about noise complaints with that in a building. I had been thinking about honking.
Is it the district needs?
The district needs, that's exactly it, thank you.
Yeah, so there are two district needs sections that are relevant to your committee. There's public safety and emergency services for
Right,
pretty obvious reasons. The one that's a little bit less obvious is the core infrastructure, city services and resiliency.
that's the one that had noise pollution. I think we had said that was our previous top issue.
Correct.
And I just feel like maybe that's not it. And given our other concerns, like, I mean, it probably wouldn't be my top choice, but the cleanliness and trash collection is consistent with the other things that we are talking about. Again, not sure it's my top concern, but there is if we wanna, I feel like consistency is the friend of effectiveness.
I mean, of all the items on this list, I would say it is cleanliest trash collection. You know, versus everything else that's on there. If we had to pick one, I would say it's that one.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Agree with that too.
I would agree with that.
So there you go.
Thank you for bringing it up. Yeah.
You're welcome.
So we can highlight that, that cleanliness slash trash collection will be the new top
Yeah.
choice.
Does everybody think that's right? I mean,
I'm-
like,
I'm-
We're doing the whole
like I said, I'm not
cleanliness
sure
thing,
that's-
we're gonna do it.
Why else would we be, yeah, doing a campaign about it?
Cleanliness, I
well, and that, again, even more consistent.
mean, what do you
Hazardous
think?
materials,
I think,
Is that correct?
not me, should it be?
I don't know.
Not of it.
Honestly, I mean, I kind of think about preparedness for extreme weather events.
So that happens more often in New York than I would have expected before
And
moving
more
here.
often every year.
Yeah, like, well, even not like the flood, like those floods that go into the subways and everything, so I do think preparedness is important. Noise pollution is, yeah, I mean, I think it's an important thing, but hasn't been like my thing that I've noticed, but I can see why it's important. I don't know if it's the most important.
Yeah,
I would think,
and I think
Snow.
since
Water.
congestion
And that's the
tracing,
question, is that really been, so much better, so then we don't even know, I mean, if somebody's looking at all that.
anecdotally.
Yeah, but I hope somebody's actually getting
And I'm sure
data.
there's, there may be something you wanna run data on car noise or honks or
That's-
something
Oh, yeah,
that we
that's
can look
true.
up, right?
Yeah.
Because I think 311 might collect that if I remember.
Well, I know there
So
are noise complaints.
but I think that we shouldn't be, this shouldn't be too parochial. We should look at the 311 data. And, see where the complaints are.
I do agree though with I think that my instinct would be the cleanliness one, but that being said, instinct is only as good as an anecdote, so data.
There's anecdote.
Anecdata.
Middle,
Anecdata.
Anecdata, that's fine.
Brendan,
not original.
Yeah. Well, one thing I'll say
say something?
is,
Can I,
Yeah.
Say is your word.
I chime in?
Michael, I can go first,
Yeah. Okay, I mean, I've heard that the number one and right behind number one or the other way around is noise and the bike problem. The safety.
But those
Those aren't listed there. is
they're,
it?
well, and they're
No,
not
they're
really.
not, but I'm just saying, like, you guys were talking about 311 and those to me,
No,
because
it's
I think
this.
Matt even mentioned it last year. The number one and two issues was the bicycle safety issue and noise.
But that's
not
not,
listed here.
it's not a core infrastructure,
Yeah.
city service.
Right.
And we don't get to change those.
yeah, there isn't really
We
flexibility.
don't get to change those or.
Oh, these, yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
these are the choices the city offers us.
Yeah.
I was gonna make a comment, I forgot to say though before. Can I just say a quick thing? I was gonna say, when, the commander was here, that the bike issue, I know everybody says it's a big issue. But like literally the first day of spring hit, I was all excited, and then I think I almost got hit by like two cars within. Two bikes within like 15 minutes.
Bikes?
Yeah, cause they just ride up on the sidewalk.
Yeah, it's
now.
active
Like,
again.
it's not
Very
even-
busy.
I used to like, when I first moved here, I was like, oh, I gotta be careful, like walking on a green, like even a green light across the street,
Yeah,
because
you
they
have to
just, they
look
just go right through.
Both ways.
But now it's just on the sidewalk, like I was
Yeah.
walking, I was at a doctor's appointment and I walk out and within like on the way there, and it wasn't our district, because our district is, I don't wanna say which district it was, but it was a little bit intense. They just come up and they just whiz past you.
Well,
But
it's,
Just
yeah,
wanted to-
I've been cursing a lot of people lately.
Sorry?
I've been cursing a lot of people.
Oh, okay, well, that might be effective.
it's interesting how they say the crime is down. I mean, I think it's great to like say, yay, that your numbers are showing your crime is down, but they don't take stats. They don't have any data on bicycle safety, and that's a crime. Just drive a bicycle, as we know, because we've talked about this so many times, that bicycles on the sidewalk is illegal.
Well, I mean, they do have crash stat information. If you look at crash stat, they do have.
They're not factoring that in.
Please.
No, I just wanna, this is going to a topic that we were on a few minutes ago, but I really do wanna make sure we address this. With this particular section, core infrastructure, city services and resiliency, if we want to change what our top issue is, we'll need to edit this section that I'm highlighting right now.
Right.
Not tonight per se, this can be done offline, but this will need to be edited so that we justify that our top issue is cleanliness slash trash collection. That's all. Sorry
That's
for
fine.
the,
I would.
sorry for the diversion from bicycle.
It's not a diversion, that's right on point. So during the next interval before our next meeting, I would like that we look at 311 data. And find out whatever we can about what the community that we are here to represent has raised as the biggest issue. And with that, we're going to go to Justin. For your next agenda item.
Oh, my link up, I see one, ready?
We're ready,
Okay.
as will be.
So
I share the resolution.
yeah, let's go ahead and look at the resolution. So, and I'll give a little bit more, just some more background. So it looks like Community Board 6 wants to go ahead and use the Link NYC monitors going forward to help promote meetings starting maybe September. I'm not sure the thought of how that's gonna be done, whether it's gonna be just an image or a creative thing. I'm not sure if Sandy has any ideas on that yet. The issues is that from my discussions with Link NYC, we can only do really one at a time. They have one spot for us,
One campaign.
one image.
One image. But
Per month.
so when I see Harvey Epstein's ads, he
Yes.
seems to have multiple images.
He's multiple, he was probably paying for it.
I may be wrong.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but he's paying for those.
I see.
We have one reserved for us.
Okay, so we cannot cycle through different, the most we could do is split the screen and say, you know.
Or even include, like you had,
Yeah,
an
or like,
image that
yeah.
has two messages.
yeah, so I think, so that's the thing, like, and this is what we can discuss going forward a bit. We, like, any images, well, the ones I kind of generated were, like I said, brought to you by Community Board 6, so it had our seal on it. But it could also say, you know, it could be, we could find a way to include that, like, this meeting is coming up, or, you know, in other words, that's what I was saying about, I'm not sure how Sandy and everybody else wants to market the meetings on the minute that the meeting's starting in September. But it could be like a creative image, it could just be a straight, this meeting is, so there could be an overlap, is what I'm saying.
Or, yeah, because it could just be like, check out our meetings.
Yeah, it could-
and give the website.
Yeah, it could be,
you know?
yeah, it could be at the bottom, it could be the whole thing, but the point is that we have one spot per 30 days.
So do you have, you're going to make a presentation, a visual presentation at the full board, is that
Yes,
right?
yeah,
Can you show us what you're going to?
do we have the PowerPoint from, I think I emailed it to you, but if not, I can bring it up too.
Yeah, might have sent it to me. When did you send it?
So I sent it to you after, I think I did. If not, I can connect right now, but let me see.
Hand me that.
Sorry? Okay, one second. Do we want to go through the resolution though, as we're discussing, or do you want to look at the images first?
Let's see the images first. Let's
Make it
understand.
more real.
Yeah, make it real.
It would be
Is it what you saw on April 9th?
April 10th, I sent it to you. It looks like, wait. Yeah, April 9th. I said, great, sounds good. Brendan, I'm informing you the Link NYC deck I created from last week.
Okay, it'll take me like a
So
minute.
while you're doing that, we'll talk. So one of the, you said that these are shown to be effective. I'd like to know, when we talked about DSNY data, one of the thoughts I had was, gee, if they had the data, then we could see if these public service announcements were actually having an impact or not.
So there's been previous campaigns done, and I get a list of it, I listed it in here. But there was a DSNY one, I think it was DSNY, that was like an anti-rat campaign back in 2021. And they did similar marketing, and that was shown to have like a 50% reduction in I don't remember the
Like
metric
how
was.
waste was.
Yeah, exactly, but I saw, I mean, there were a few examples and I listed them in here. it was a Harlem campaign. I think it might be, Brendan, maybe like slide 6 or 7, but it was a Harlem campaign, and I guess.
Here we go.
Yeah, and I agree with you completely, like, it's not just about coming up with a good campaign, it's also about finding a way to be able to measure how that campaign impacts everything. One big difference I'll note is that this campaign is a marketing campaign, it's not aligned with working with DSNY and also implementation. So in other words, to max, and I think we talked about this last week, I don't know who brought this up, to maximize impact, it would take a campaign and working with DSNY.
DSNY, we invited DSNY to, try to coordinate with us, Marissa said she would talk with her communications team, so it is conceivable.
Okay. The only, I won't say concern, the only caveat that brings up is that when you're now working with a group like DSNY, they're gonna be like, it's going to alter what the messaging can be, because you're dealing with a pub,
Yeah.
We're an independent entity, we can choose to work with them or not.
That's all I'm saying.
We can
If,
take their input.
yeah, I'm saying if the second they wanna put, well, we can take their input, the second, let's say they wanted to work with, join us to work with it. It would, they might have, I mean, like the smallest thing ever, they literally might say, we don't allow generative images or something
We
like that.
can-
Or we don't like that
Or
color.
we don't like that, it could be anything, I don't know what they're,
And we
like-
can say, thank you, we took that out.
Okay, yeah.
We can synchronize campaigns.
Yeah.
We don't have to, they don't have to integrate. Michael Ann has her little hand raised again.
Well, seeing as they don't collect data, I don't think we should be like counting on them to collect data. But
No,
I
they're
think,
good. They can assist us,
Senior
like,
stuff.
yeah,
how do you envision them assisting us from number one, and number two, I think we might be better off just not relying on them and just doing it. And maybe QR codes are one way to gauge it to some just any.
so can I just say what my dream was to get this started, do some images. And
Mhm.
concurrently work with them, and then, there's like Blink NYC, if people like this, and this was, people enjoyed it. Blink NYC aren't a lot of things out there, like we could maybe work with them on some of the, like, I don't know if they have access to the bus stops or any of that.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that, like, this is kind of, to me, a proof of concept of
Yeah.
the ID. We can connect with them and still work with them, but there is a broader strategy and goal there. This is the start of it, but I think that it is the appropriate time to start involving them and hearing their ideas. I don't know if it should necessarily, like, it could inform us of how we want to think about it. It doesn't have to necessarily be we want their input so much that we just don't do it the whole summer. But I think I do agree that it is incumbent on us to at least talk with them and see if we can expand this out. And by the way, not just, I mean, if you think about this more long-term, not just with public safety, but not just with like cleanliness, but even things like doing campaigns to say that our, police are doing a great job, things we can
Yeah.
partner with them on. This is a really good, I think this is a really good, like, I'll call it an introduction point. This is a great place to build up some of that relationship, because there's no political controversy or
Right.
a disagreement over the fact that, like, we could work together to build a cleaner city.
So let's see,
I think other committees are gonna get jealous once they.
But that's the other thing,
Yeah.
one of the reasons I brought this up is, in general, is because if I have this idea, then 10 other people have the same idea. And it's only a matter of time before other people take the idea and use it for themselves, and they will, and like, there's, everybody here is smart, we can push it forward, so.
so let's see your presentation. And can you make that full screen? I mean, sorry, Michael Ann, we're not gonna see you now.
Yeah, the,
No, that's Michael Ann full screen.
I know, but for some reason, the tech is being kind of.
Okay.
Let me,
Yes, I don't envy your position.
so. I clicked on full screen and it's not showing full screen.
So wait, but are you showing full screen as on the slideshow?
This is,
Yeah, but you can still do the full screen for the live show, for the actually for the slideshow. If you go to,
I did click on,
you did click on
slideshow? yeah. Click on
It's okay, we'll survive this way
Yeah, that's
then.
fine.
Or maybe just from beginning, do you wanna click on the from beginning?
Already,
You already, yeah.
already did that.
Okay, it's fine. Yeah, so this is a quick reminder, the CB6 Link NYC cleanliness campaign. People pass by these monitors every day. I mean, for me, the reason I'm on this community board is because I walked by and I saw Mark Levine's apply for the Manhattan Borough Board. So I think this is one of those type of things where people walk
I
by,
look at them.
they don't think about it.
Oh, I always do.
Sorry?
I look at them all the time.
So
Yeah.
it's one of those things that you're gonna get all different types of people. You're gonna get people that, read every detail, but just a lot of people that just walk by and just glance at it, process it. It's not, any campaign would not be, I don't want anything that's gonna be too intrusive in their, how they're walking down the street, but it's like, one of the reasons I chose NYC Pride image is because, you're walking by, move to New York, you see that, half a second, 1991, you hear the images and you just keep going, but if you process it and you see it is the important thing. So it's an asset that that's good for us to find a way to use, in my opinion.
I love it when I go by and I see like a community board meeting announcement. It's
Yeah.
like,
And other ones, I mean, like, with respect to us, like, when I go to Chelsea, they have their community board meetings when I walk by, I see it. So, that's community board 3.
Okay, so you have a sample of the campaign here.
Yeah, do you wanna,
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have to go through all the reasons that it's important to.
No,
We-
let's see,
convinced.
how
Talking to the
you
choir.
design the campaign.
Yeah.
Let me try.
Do you want me to share maybe? I can bring mine up, but it would
Yeah.
take a minute.
Okay, I think it works fine,
It's
just as
fine.
long as I don't have it on full.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so this is just some details about the importance of it, sanitation in high traffic areas. Some, that a lot of attitudes are built in how we teach people. It's not just intrinsic that something has to be dirt, like these are cultural values that we teach to each other. That. The Harlem rat mitigation one. Free, visible, pedestrian facing. I need 225 right now, yeah, good for pair of glasses. Yeah, they feel part of it, they see themselves in it. The images would be a way of, having people walk by and everybody kind of looks at it from a different perspective, but they feel like they're gonna have a different reaction, and they all feel part of it in some way. Which I think is really important to get people to buy into it. We can lead this by organizing, endorsing, and guiding the efforts. District level,
But you have mock-ups. so-
yeah.
Here are some.
Here we go. So these are a few examples. I would, come up with more because I'm not a marketing major, so I've got some feedback about the importance of being concise and getting the image right to there. So,
took out the,
sorry, I didn't put that one in there. I didn't put that, you like that one? That's white one? Yeah. I didn't,
it's up there.
yeah, but anyways, so the way the technology works now, we're not quite at a place where generating like real live images, like for example, the ones on the right, you can't generate people that look that real yet. So I'm not sure having a photorealistic thing is quite capable. What I did is I basically prompted it to say like create a poster in kind of like a 50s retro style that's inclusive of the CB6, both like the architecture, but also the like the type of people that work here, that live here, make sure that it's inclusive of, all our community members, and then create a retro fun style. And then I'm playing a little bit with what the text would be and how, but I'm working with, I've talked to some of my marketing friends who say like how the messaging should work. So like don't litter doesn't really have doesn't have like it just says don't litter, doesn't have like a specific like what you should do.
And it's a negative.
Yeah, it's a negative. So don't take these as images of what the actual words would be or captions. These are images of just what something like that could look like.
So how are we gonna decide what the words?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and I know a few people brought that up. So my opinion is that there should be some sort of, I can either do this myself or work with others to generate some of the images and then have a, deciding on, group to decide that this is what we want. To like, well, this is like, we approve of it, basically. I think having the community board itself, pass a resolution would say the community board agrees with it in principle. The proposition I came up with before was that, Sandy would approve it and then the executive board we'd have like a majority vote. I know, Anne, you thought maybe that's too much possibly, but the point is that I want to make sure that like everybody feels comfortable with it or the leadership feels comfortable with it, but also isn't, let's say, like overly bureaucratic. So I'm not sure
Yes.
what the right answer to that is.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always good to have kind of multiple eyes.
Yeah.
Look at stuff because
People can see different things. Like
Right.
I showed my mom and like she had a different just like the swipe one. She's like, well, what does that mean when you right swipe? And I was like, well, I think everybody knows. And she's like, well, I don't know what that means. Like how, so I like, you want to hear how people are gonna react to it, so.
But I also don't feel like, we need a resolution or the
For each
executive.
one, you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah, but I think it's good to have oversight.
No.
exactly.
So let's look at the language of the resolution now, if we could.
Yes.
Can I just say something in between, in betwixt and in between with my little hand?
Sure.
I just think this is a wonderful, concept. And, Justin, I already told you, I'd love to be on your communications team. I do a lot of marketing myself. However, I'm not a marketing expert, but this is what community board needs. This is exactly what community board needs. And it's just a wonderful campaign. And I don't think we need to micromanage it. I think we get the message. We don't have to approve every single, but I think once we get, I'm saying we, because I'd like to help you, Justin, but get the visual, the storyboard is what we call it, in place, then we can make that presentation as well, just to get people excited about it. Get a whole like feel good campaign going. That's all I wanted to
Yeah.
say.
And what I was gonna say, Michael, Ann, is I think that given kind of the feedback that a community board might pivot to use these, to use the messaging, for kind of internal meetings in the future. I think we could start with some type of summer, and this was Sandy's idea too, do like a summer, basically 2 or 3 images for the summer. And then either we could then take that and build upon that with a broader campaign with like DSNY, or the community board, whether it's the broader board or the, each committee could come up with whether it wants to have creative or more text-focused campaigns. But I think this is a really good way to bring, the broader community. They just walk by, they say, this is community board, thing, and it's a good kind of almost like an alpha beta test about what works, what doesn't over the next 2 or 3 months, and then start pivoting into the broader board using it.
So Sandy saw the language of your reso. Is she comfortable with it as it stands right now?
I'm not sure if I have to think if I emailed it to her.
She was kind of,
I wasn't comfortable with the last one, so I redid it.
when
She
we
gave me
met the other
suggestions.
night, she was sounding in favor of
Let me see if I
whatever.
sent-
I know she saw it today because I sent it to her.
Okay.
But that was late this afternoon. So
Yeah.
here's the language.
This I all redid based on her
Bring it down a
like,
bit, like in terms of, it doesn't have to be 200%, so we can fit a little bit more.
Steven, how are you feeling about it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had it zoomed in because I
I
know
think
some
she-
people complained about like the
I
text is too
understand.
small.
Yes, I've had that problem myself.
Yeah.
You may speak.
Would that be geared to the community or the people in the community to know that, what's happening in the meetings and also like they can come to the meetings?
A little bit of both.
Okay, so, cause I was getting the assumption that it was for just passerbys.
Well,
And they
that's,
see.
you know, the link in my city,
Yeah.
yes, right?
Are the ones that don't always work,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it doesn't always work. So, and I know where I live by the men's shelter. And that is an area where a lot
By
of the
Bellevue.
things break up. where they rate these things, so it would defeat the purpose to have them on some of those if they're not working. And I think, and you know, this is my second time coming to the meetings, and I'm in school and I bring up that, you know, I attend the meetings and I just wish a lot more people came and, you know, find ideas of having people to come. And I'm like, okay, one day I'm gonna print out, there's a meeting and just put it in my building.
Yeah.
And, you know, just let
Mm.
people know that
Mhm.
these meetings are happening. But I think that's a really good idea.
That's a
And
good idea.
I think that, you know, it should be other locations that should be looked at. Like supermarkets, I know that they allow posters and things like that. And some, like the store under my building, they have like movie posters, maybe get a poster put there.
So this was, they're accessible for us, for the community board.
Mhm.
So it's a way for us to be able to promote it, but I think it's a good idea that saying like, it's not just like, it's good to promote concepts and ideas, but also the fact that we have meetings.
Mhm.
So we can, I don't love to talk about it if we want to intertwine that, I'm not saying, yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, so, and you should consider our front, you should come to our meeting. I feel like we have a budding community board member.
I even attend the Zoom one. So I, like, my first meeting, I was like, oh, I need to continue to see what's going on. And I spread the word as much as I can, because it's our community,
So what's your name?
Latanya.
Natania. I gotta warn you, having done this for many years, it will suck you in. You're already in school and you have a 14-year-old son, just God bless you.
On the site, I see what is the next upcoming meetings, and whenever I have time, I go on the Zoom, and I'm like.
That's right.
Good for you. That's
That's a
awesome.
good citizen.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
It's an active citizen. Isn't that beautiful?
So
Yeah.
we've got the language of the reso in front of us.
I'm gonna scroll down a little bit so that way. You can see other songs, that way you can see some of the other language.
Yeah, so the first question would be, do we want to make this resolution specific to just this committee, public safety and sanitation with? My feeling is that I think we should, maybe in the future, there will be a resolution to expand it, but I'm concerned that if we brought this to full board, they would go, well, we don't know if we want our committee to be, but I could be wrong, I'm not sure, like, do you guys feel like it would get?
I think it's originating from this committee.
Okay.
It's it's appropriate.
Okay,
Yeah.
And others
Who
can,
else wants to do it?
let them do it.
Let them.
Yeah, we can see where it goes.
What do you think?
Further resolved, I said follow the guidelines, specifying the number of images, posting frequency compliance. We'll review campaign materials prior to deployment. Maybe we could say review and, I might just add like review and confirm or something like that, or like, it's not just review yeah, I don't know if I put that anywhere. Is this the bottom of this? It's approve and confirm, or maybe approve is better than, or I don't know, it doesn't really matter.
I
But-
think you should just stick with review.
Well,
Well, I do think.
maybe we don't need the review, maybe we just need to confirm.
well, I'm sorry, that's the full board as opposed to the
Well-
administration.
Oh,
That was my
Oh,
that's-
question,
Yeah, yeah.
because it was like, originally I was like, well, are we asking?
I
the
think,
office to do
what,
that?
I think what we want to do here, I mean, Sandy wanted the full board, she wanted a resolution
Yeah.
for the full board,
Yes.
but this can then be delegating
Mm.
the decision-making to the administration from that point.
Wait, and
Yeah, but there should be, like, there should be a process of saying like,
whom do you mean by the administration? Who do you mean by the
I
administration?
understand.
Yeah,
See, because I feel like I don't wanna put another thing on the board office.
Yes,
No, well, I think it's basically Sandy and the executive team.
Well, that was one of my things, like I sent a whole email, like, who do you mean by CP6, right? That was the
yeah,
question, and it was like, exec committee, this committee, Sandy, the board office.
maybe you'll see that instead of that CB6 review campaign materials product deployment, maybe more like that. A CB6, I'll say committee, because it's not the right.
It
word.
can either be the executive committee or it can be an ad hoc committee just for,
The other thing I thought, and this could trip us up at full board, is speaking as an editor, sometimes vagueness can be a benefit. But this is not our bylaws.
And so if we wanna, like, and this is the first time we're doing something like this, then we just say CB6 and we sort of see how it works and what is right.
That's a dangerous vagueness, because someone could then say it means the
The
full
whole
board.
board, yeah.
I would,
It's a
I would go the
whole
other way, and I
We
would
need to
say,
be specific.
I would allow, the
A
chair.
Designated,
I would allow the chair to designate a committee or to decide.
should we do that without asking Sandy?
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Because that's-
Sandy will come, I think that she'll be able to, as this gets more approval, to decide what the approval
I mean-
mechanism should be.
She's an architect and has a great,
She loves
Uh,
it.
no, but she's an architect, so she has a good design sense, I
Yeah.
think.
She's a greener.
So,
Even like the one you call, like that's a negative, so like even if I came up with the best image, I'd wanna run it by you, cause then you're like, oh, that's a little too negative, you know, like I won't. I
First
think,
of all, we're only saying that Sandy can decide how she can
Enforcement mechanism,
delegate
yeah.
the responsibility to others. And if she's not comfortable with this at full board, she can
So-
propose.
so what language are you recommending as instead of CB6?
The CB6 chair will,
Oversee the review.
Oh, that's good.
I don't think
I
that's
like
tripping
that.
up, but,
That's good.
No, I like
Review.
that.
yeah.
Because
No,
when
I-
she reviews it, she's gonna,
No,
con-
she-
she's gonna,
She's
there's gonna be a.
Oversee the
Because that
You're
means
not.
she can delegate
In
it.
any
CB6
way,
chair will
create
oversee
a
the
committee
review.
or whatever, do
Or-
whatever.
It could be her, it could be the committee, whatever she.
I think does that work for other people?
That works for me, and Sandy will be watching this video later anyway, so.
So. From the wording over here, it says, and
I
that
hope
the
she loved it.
CB6 chair.
Yes.
Will
Well,
oversee the
The
review
review
of the campaign.
of campaign, yeah,
That the CB6 chair.
yes. Will oversee
Will oversee.
the review
Oversee,
of
I would.
the review
The
of.
review of
It's a little
campaign
wordy, but
materials,
I
yeah.
think it,
The review of,
yeah, okay.
is this an accurate reflection?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it gets everything.
I think that
I
covers
think
it.
it's such a great
Yeah, wow.
suggestion. Cause it gives that flexibility without
Were you an
the
attorney?
vagueness.
Gloria?
Hmm?
Were you an attorney?
I can use words well, when you need to get a certain sentiment across.
Yeah,
So we're all comfortable with this, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
We're ready to vote?
Comfortable?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah, that sounds
Yes.
good.
You're being great.
All the questions.
The question's been called. My understanding is it's a small meeting. You don't have to second it, but everyone wants to second it anyway.
I'll second it.
Excellent. So Brendan will call I don't know.
Do we even have to? If Bob, which I really want to change the name of that committee, we can say hearing no objections, right?
I think just for document.
It's a resolution.
Well, we had 18 resolutions, so,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
34, I think.
I'm fine with unanimous consent, but in this case, there's, you know.
Yeah, and it gives.
Oh, I almost forgot that Michael Ann's with us, so there's
Yeah.
actually
Hello.
quite a much larger number than I realized. Let's take a vote, please.
Yeah, it's only, it's 7 committee members.
Right, let's
so
take a vote,
it shouldn't-
please.
It shouldn't take. Okay, so when I call your name, please say whether you're in favor, oppose, abstain, or not entitled. Stu
In
Desser,
favor.
Justin
in
Goldberg,
favor.
Gloria Hay,
In favor?
Rupal Kakad,
In favor.
Steve Perez,
In favor.
Michael N. Rowe,
in favor.
and Ann Seligman.
In favor.
With all 7 committee members in favor, this resolution passes.
For the full board meeting, should I
Bravo.
am I gonna be able to have 2 minutes to show them, like, some of the images? I mean, I wouldn't do a 10-slide thing, maybe like a 2-slide thing.
I think we should ask Brendan.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
We'll take it up with Sandy in the office and.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I think, I mean, a sufficient presentation would be important. so
Okay, yeah.
We'd like to do that, so,
Oh, I'm
So-
sorry, when would that presentation be?
Full board,
Next meeting?
yes,
Yes.
14.
14th?
Yeah, May 14th.
That's,
You're gonna be there, right?
and we'll have to come over.
Okay, next agenda item,
But I
please.
will do
My
more.
travels.
Yeah.
Discovery resolution. So the last I saw the news, we still don't know what
Mhm.
bargain was made in Albany.
Yes.
I did consider the possibility of crafting some language in anticipation of what they do, but
Isn't it already in there?
well, the last reso, paragraph does prepare for that contingency.
Yeah, I thought that was a great.
And
Really
I
nice.
think
I think Sandy thinks that could be. That the whole thing could be difficult at the full board. Because they're gonna be like, this is moot, why do we even have it? But I think it's important for us to kind of be on the record.
I agree with that.
Anyway, and like I said, we don't, or like you said, we don't know the details of
Mhm.
this. Which is, I mean, it's kind of why I had said in the comments that you all saw about. Like maybe we should have it on record that this was one of the problems in reaching a budget deal, but I also understand why.
I think you can raise that, or any of us can raise that at full board. I don't think it should be in the reso.
It's a little.
It's political, but it's also that, you want to make a decision based simply straight on the facts. If, there may be some seedy politics behind something, but you want to judge based on the substance and not the politics, because, I mean, you can have crummy politics and a good.
Right, good policy,
So I
yeah.
don't want to argue based on that sort of prejudice.
But it is also a context thing, which is what my other comment was about, was that, this just didn't come out of nowhere. And that, there have been, and I don't know how that fits in, honestly, have not worked on language, but my other comment that I share with everybody was that I am concerned. I think it would be valuable for people to know that this is kind of reverting. What we are opposing is a reversion to a previous state that was problematic. To say the least.
And we can present that orally again at the full board.
Who's presenting it?
Stuart's gonna start, and then everyone who wants will pipe in. Except for Rubel, because she'll be someplace else.
I'm missing the full board, I'm not
Oh,
here.
because you're going, and actually, you know what, I'm not gonna be there either. And the June meeting, I will be calling in for as much as I can.
Then you're gonna have to prepare written statements for someone to read.
Okay. But I'm just saying, like, I have something going on in my life that supersedes it.
I can't understand anything
Yeah.
preceding the community board, but,
Shoot paths, baby, there,
but,
you're all of our lifebloods.
but, we can, I will invite everyone. I mean, I'll introduce it, and it is obviously not, something that many people will understand, so it will have to be explained and it will have to be put in context. But everyone who's there, will have an opportunity to speak. So the language, as it stands now, and you saw that I did make that third clause under the fourth whereas. I did, I thought Steve's point was pretty good, and so did change it.
That's the old one.
Yes.
That's
the old one.
This is the old one. This is not the new resolution.
And I would share my screen, but my
I
keyboard
printed
seems to
degree
be
and I left it.
living separate from my computer right
Yeah,
now.
Steve, you can speak to the issues. that I mentioned, like about the history, right? Cause I feel like you know the most about this.
You will
Stu
be
knows
the
the-
answer.
Do know the
Well,
most about this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like of the non-chair.
You should find it in my email late this afternoon.
Okay. Uh,
I could,
yeah, I think what happened was this. You said it was late this afternoon.
want me to just send it to you? I share my screen, but bad things are happening.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I think,
I don't know what, wanna know what porn you've been watching.
yeah, if you could just send it to me, because I'm not finding what was sent late this afternoon. For whatever reason.
It's because you were not on there.
Oh, okay.
Read it.
That explains why I had to go over it.
How is that possible? How could I?
I'm looking at the email right now. It's just the committee members.
Okay, well,
Really?
The office was not up.
that explains,
Not done.
that explains everything.
I,
That makes me feel a little bit less bad.
I do intentionally leave you out of things, but why is this not? I guess this teaches me not to buy a $300 computer.
You want me to forward it to him?
Wait, no, I found.
Yeah.
Get what you pay for.
For a moment, I was worried that I had missed an email.
Or like mistakenly deleted
Or mistakenly deleted something.
Let's see if the one I sent you is the right one now.
I'm gonna send a text today to a person that I was complaining about. But I caught myself and told me, gosh.
We've all done that.
Okay. There we go.
Let's make sure it's the right, look, it's the right one.
Okay, here we go.
Is it the right one?
Yep.
Okay, great.
It's such a complex issue.
There's some word missing in that whereas at the bottom there, because it says whereas prosecutors' legitimate concerns could be addressed without hindering the defendant's timely discovery.
Oh, I should.
Is that
Thanks.
before it said timely access to discovery or
Yeah.
something like that, like, there's something.
Yeah, that could be added back in.
Receipt of discovery?
Or I'm not sure what the,
I
yeah,
think
right wording
access
is, but
is a perfectly fine
okay.
word. You with us, Brendan?
Yep, want me to scroll down anymore?
Yeah, if you can go to the. What we're saying in the resolved.
Yeah.
Yes. There we go.
Is anybody prepared to explain in their entirety the modifications proposed by the governor?
And so,
Well, yeah, I mean, they're in there, they're in the whereas.
Are those
So
the
there are three.
entirety? I mean, I know they're the ones we're opposed to.
Those are the
but is
only
that
ones that
everything?
we know about.
Right.
Because nothing's been released. So,
Right,
I mean,
exactly,
It's
yes.
as much as we can
Right.
possibly know.
This is what's out there for
Yeah.
public information.
and she does seem,
Should we then add in its entirely the modifications publicly proposed?
Good point. I see.
And like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We don't know what's in the
Things
proposal.
happen behind
Yeah.
closed
Well,
doors.
yeah,
That's true, yeah.
that's very important.
Publicly proposed, yeah.
and so were you sticking publicly?
In this first resolved, where it says. That community board 6 firmly opposes in its entirety the modifications publicly proposed by the governor, because, yeah, Um. Things do happen behind closed doors.
And, in the next resolve, there's just missing encourage the enactment of
Yes.
613. And just, I know this is like super picky, but. Never mind. It's not.
I'm not sure I understand what the resolve clause is that states that we support codification of People versus Bay.
People versus Bay is a,
I know what People versus Bay is. I don't know what it means to say we support the codification of it. What does that mean?
So I think. As I listened to and did this part of the minutes. The concern is that. Though it's law, it's the way the law has been interpreted by the courts, there isn't a lot of. Knowledge, it hasn't sort of been disseminated. My understanding is that lawyers do not have the same sort of continuing ed requirements.
that's actually not true. Lawyers do have continuing.
Yeah.
They said they do.
Um,
Well, do
Because I
judges.
specifically
I
asked
guess-
that question
I
for that
actually
reason.
read
You
But
did.
actually,
Yeah.
I'm
They said
sorry,
yes,
I'm
Yeah.
not
they
saying
did.
lawyers, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Do judges have that?
I think that was
Yeah,
your
that
question, and
was
the
one of
answer was
questions,
yes.
okay.
because I
Yeah.
specifically asked it for that
Right,
very reason,
right.
like, how is it that,
Yeah.
that if
But
this is the
it's-
case, that they are not
exactly
aware of it?
So Callie's answer was, it would have more strength if there
If it was
was,
codified?
if it was codified. And so
But I don't know what that means.
What is codified?
What does that mean? You want
it means
our
it should be
state
legislation,
legislature to
right, there
pass
should
a
be
law?
legislation about it.
Didn't we say codified in legislation? Isn't that the language?
Support codification of People versus Bay, yeah, in the second, be it further.
Right,
Is that not meaningful to you?
So,
Where does it say that?
it doesn't, so, okay, so
No, it doesn't.
supports codification,
Codification into law?
well, case law is law, but you want
Codification by the legislature?
Well, before we get to that word, if we're saying that we think we need to pass a law to codify People versus Bay, that makes me a little nervous because none of us are legal scholars. We're a community board. I'm not sure we have the expertise to be able to say, I mean, we didn't really go in depth into this discussion. I didn't hear a lot of people other than that one person who said that. I didn't hear make me more comfortable if we had like the ACLU or like somebody saying like, this is what needs to be done. But for a community board to say like, we need a law that codifies People versus, I mean, we're not legal experts here.
First of all,
That would make me really nervous.
what we heard for both sides, is the decision in People versus Bay used the language, it said that, lawyers are not held to, that there's not a strict scrutiny standard.
I don't know what's, that already lost me. I don't know what strict
Right.
scrutiny standard
Understood,
means.
which
I don't know what that's.
What I explained in a memo, I think. But both sides agreed that it would be beneficial if this were codified. So case law is law. It has the force and effect of law. It's similar to legislation unless the legislature overrides it. So case law is law. The concern was that a number of judges were not familiar with the case. In theory, the council could still, in their papers, explain that this is, they can cite this case. But for whatever reason, not all judges were paying attention to that. So all they're saying is make it black letter law, as opposed to just case law.
But what I heard from I can't remember their name, the
Legal Aid Society.
What I heard from Legal Aid Society was they said we need to give the law more time. It's a really recent law, it hasn't had enough time to work its way through the system, so why are we changing, you know?
They were talking about,
What she was talking about was the law that was passed, like
It's
instead of
fine.
reversing it,
Right,
basically what governor
exactly.
wants to do.
But it had to do with how the judges were ruling, right, on these things,
Right,
which was the DA's case.
And my understanding from the conversation was like, they kind of are two things, but they're kind of almost parallel to each other. Like in a sense that what she was talking about was that law that was passed, the overthrowing of like the really old bad days of just locking everybody up kind of thing. And then we passed this reform law, and then there was that one People versus Bay that came down out of that process, and like as the law is being worked. And so they're saying, both saying that whatever that judge, that decision was with People versus Bay, like that makes, or like they're okay with it, they agree, like kind of agree with the sentiments of whatever the decision was. And so without undoing the law, like whatever that decision was, that made sense, so like let that take place before reversing whatever Hochul and the DAs wanted.
and the concern was, we were talking about the data also, the data which was ambiguous and everyone can interpret their own way. And so the data seemed to suggest that more cases were being dismissed, but the data was unclear. And, you know, given time, you would begin to see, more substantial trend. There's all we're doing here is supporting what both sides have said would be a positive move. And we're not ourselves even writing the legislation. We're simply saying that this is case law. Let the legislature put it, make it black letter law. And, you know, again, it's always subject to interpretation, but that will make it more solid for some judges. You may still speak.
Yeah, I mean, again, we don't have enough legal expertise on the board, on the community board.
I don't know.
Put forward a recommendation as to what
What kind of
legislation.
expertise are you looking for? I mean, it's case law. It's a legal decision by the state's highest court. All the courts, all the lower courts are obliged to, adhere to it. So it's already law. If the legislature, codifies it, they do have an opportunity to modify it if they so choose to do. But we're basically saying, take this case, it's already law, and just putting it on the books as black letter law. So
Okay, so argue the opposite point. Why would you not want to do that?
why would you not want to do it?
No, but I'm asking you to argue the like a lawyer would be able to say, why wouldn't you want to do it? Because I don't understand both sides, so I wouldn't. That's what makes me nervous about saying I'm supportive of this.
I mean, why would you not want to why would you?
Not want to codify this?
I actually, well, for one
What
thing.
could be a reason? I'm just saying hypothetically.
What could be a reason? The legislature might, have difficulty finding language, because the case is a fairly long case. And when the legislature puts it into language, they try to make it concise, and often that makes it more ambiguous. When, a legislature, decides there's sometimes politics involved that you may not want to have to deal with. Case law is easier to overturn or to modify. So if, for instance, somebody said, yes, this case, so, you know, the way case law works is basically, you have a case today and you say, is our case more like this old case or this old case? And whichever one it is the, you know, is theoretically the lead that you follow. So somebody could say, well, this case doesn't fit perfectly, our new case doesn't fit perfectly into People versus Bay. So, we need a new decision that accommodates this particular specific circumstance. I mean, you can come up with um, this list of reasons why politically you might not want to do it, or administratively, but here we have a case where both sides support making this legislation.
That kind of makes me skeptical.
Okay, listen, just like quickly, so we can just do this. This is a quick summary. In 2021, Michael Bay was arrested for alleged harassment of his mother. After the prosecution filed a certificate of compliance indicating readiness for trial, the defense discovered that the prosecution had not provided all required discovery materials. The defense argued that the prosecution's readiness statement was illusory due to the belated disclosure. On appeal, the Court of Appeals of New York held that since the prosecution failed to show they had exercised due diligence and made reasonable efforts to identify mandatory discovery before filing the COC, that the COC was not proper when filed, and the prosecution's declaration of trial readiness was therefore illusory. Consequently, the court reversed the county court order, granted the defendant's motion for dismissal based on speedy trial rules, and dismissed the accusatory instrument.
But
That's the whole
key
thing.
in that decision is they said that we don't expect a perfect prosecutor.
Right.
And that's the language of the decision. We don't expect a perfect prosecutor.
Just one that does
And
due
you
diligence.
don't have to dismiss a case just because the prosecutor did not hit every note exactly right.
Can I ask you, do you think given, kind of that thought that, what you're saying, Stephen, that there's want to see how this law plays out? Do you think that it might make a resolution like this harder to pass in a community board with somebody saying, well, something like this basically doesn't allow for as much,
Discretion?
no, it's not that. It's that the argument for the Legal Aid Society was that it should, for defendant rights, it should, we want to give it we want to continue to give it time. Do you think that this undercuts that argument?
You mean the Legal Aid Society, I think, was mostly saying we need to give it time because we want to look at the data. The data was ambiguous. Given enough time, we'll see what happens.
Are you still talking about people versus value?
Yes.
Okay.
But I think the other key
But they weren't,
Did say that they supported the codification.
they did, and for what it's
I'm
worth,
sorry.
Sherman Goldblum is with us. If you wanted to speak, you could. We're not asking you to, but you're free to speak if you want to. Sherman's with the DA's office. But they weren't, the Legal Aid Society was simply saying, don't change section 245 yet. Let's give it some time to play out. It hasn't been that long. We had the COVID
Yeah, that was
adventure.
the data's just not
Can we
accurate.
add to the whereas then?
Or
That the DA's office and Legal Aid Society support codification of People versus Bay?
I think that I
Because
wrote
that
that
would help
earlier.
to say it's, otherwise someone would just say, well, the community board thought this was a good idea. Yeah, like,
Still what to say.
So,
okay.
yeah,
You're not lawyers. Why would you come up with codification of?
some of it, I think that is
Makes
I'm
more sense.
totally happy with that solution. Another possibility is just take the whole thing out, because it's already gonna be a fair amount to
I would
digest.
love to hear what Sherman has to say.
I mean, it's very complicated. Yeah.
Hey, folks.
I-
Glad to be here for this section. I'm glad to hear y'all having this discussion. I think most of my role here is to take back any questions to our office. And especially since the Legal Aid Society isn't here, I think giving input on the direction of the resolution would not be equitable. I think if there's a specific question, I can bring that back to the lawyers in my office, because again, I'm a professional staff and not a lawyer. But if there's anything specific, I can make sure to bring that back. But it sounds like you want to make this decision today, and so I think mostly my role right now is mostly to listen.
Okay, well, if you were here and if we had pizza, we'd share it with you.
I appreciate that.
I'm
Can
looking
you-
at the language of the resolve clause, and it says CB6 supports codification of People v. Bay, which all parties appear to support.
In the language, I'd have to confer with the language from our office and our one pagers. But I believe that we do not. I believe I'd have to make reference to language that we have out right now. But if you feel that way from the discussions that have been had, that have been pretty extensive at Community Board 6, then I think that then go forward with that. But I think that it's more just how you interpret the conversations that they've had at the community board.
So can I just ask, can you tell us, does the DA's office support codification of Bay, People versus Bay?
I have not heard specifically. I do not know specifically about the codification of Peak v. Bay, the perspective of our office.
It's not in their fact sheet. Neither does their fact sheet support S613. That's just not where they're going with it.
But both people
Right.
who have
On the two,
come.
both times, we had this
Both
discussion 2 months in a row. And my understanding was there were two different people from both offices, or from DA's office, two different times. And my understanding was that both of them did support codifying.
Right,
People
and Eric
Bay.
was here for both meetings.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so that was my takeaway from the discussions we had 2 months in a row with two different people from the DA's office.
I mean, I would not want to put language there where I felt I was unsure, and I'm very comfortable.
But we also said all parties appear to support, we're not.
Well, the hedge is because, what we had the Manhattan District Attorney's Office here, they don't necessarily speak for the district
Right.
attorneys throughout the state. So, there's sort of an inference that, it depends which parties you're talking about.
Yeah, are the parties defined in the whereas?
What they are not. So I was gonna say, maybe to go back to your previous suggestion, be it further resolved. Say what you said again, because you put them first.
Well, I would put it in the whereas, because then. But I don't know if we know that it's factually true, that's the problem.
We know that the Manhattan DA's office was comfortable with it. We know the Legal Aid Society was comfortable with it. We did not hear from a single entity like whatever the organization is that represents DAs.
Like across the
So
page.
we can't say with authority that every DA in the state or the organization that represents them it firmly stands behind this. It appears that if the Manhattan DA does, then others will as well. But we say appear,
So are we,
So
So
do you
can we
think there
put that
should
in the
be either? And I'm sorry, I just can't remember. Was there already a whereas? There was a whereas
up above there is a whereas that,
about.
about this, so that's why I want to go back to
would
that.
you like to put that qualification up there
Yeah,
instead of here?
Up there.
I think that
Yeah.
seems like a really good solution, yeah.
Cause it's stating the facts.
Okay.
Of what. was
Brendan, you with
discussed.
us?
Brendan,
Yeah, sorry, I'm sort of multitasking.
we can go up to where the whereas is.
How about,
Go up to one of the whereases.
multi, so it has to be more than two.
Which one?
There it is, there it is.
Codifying into
Yeah.
legislation. To make clear. We can say after the parenthetical, which both sides appear to. Whatever the language was. Which all parties appear to support,
Are we taking anything out or?
not yet.
With a comma there. Adding just a pause.
Okay, so Anne, this is for you. I would put the comma before the end note.
Yeah. No, after, because the three
Right.
refers to people versus. them.
Right, so people v. they, close paren, comma,
Three, comma. No, I think because
oh, that's the way I do it. You would do it the other way?
yeah, but what do I know?
Okay, it's up to Brendan. So the words that follow,
No one is gonna complain whichever way it is. Like, I'm the only one who picks on this stuff.
well, yeah, but you're the one that's the scariest.
So I should just go as myself for Halloween?
So the words
Make
following that
you want
comma and following the
Make
three
you
are,
want terrified.
which all parties appear to support.
But we need to be specific which parties, we cannot switch the Manhattan DA's office and Legal Aid Society support.
Okay,
Well, yeah,
If
and
you-
actually, it could go,
if you-
instead of like worrying about the comma. we could
Because,
put it
I
right
mean-
at the end.
I don't know that that's necessary, but I'm glad to do that.
No, but if we don't wanna argue about the comma, we can just put it right at the, after the
Let's
case.
just put it. I'm all for putting it.
So where should this be put?
Right there,
There,
put a space and keep typing.
which the Manhattan DA's office
I knew he'd do that.
Yeah,
support,
appear to support.
Correct.
appear to support.
We'll hedge it all the way. And then you can take that that comparable language out of the resolved clause at the
Yeah.
bottom, which is the next to last resolved clause.
I'm sorry, I think we
Okay.
might have an extra two in there, but
An extra what? Oh, the word
Yeah.
too?
yeah.
Yeah, that cleans it up.
Okay,
Oh, this one. Make clear to judges. Is that, did I get the correct two?
I just need to read it. No, I think it actually should be there.
Okay, so, did I,
Put it back in.
okay,
That was a self-contained clause.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, that takes care of my concern.
You're
No,
happy.
I think it's good.
I
And
think, yes.
but can we go back
Yeah,
down to the,
you know,
to the?
it supports
to the-
it anyway, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and your percent is, we want you to be very
I'm-
comfortable,
I'm not-
you know?
Actually, you're more fierce than Anne.
He's presenting.
Is he really? Oh,
He said we could chime in
okay.
after his was.
depends whether the mics work at a waterside, right?
knock on wood.
You know, we'll talk about those microphones another time. We should have a whole meeting on that.
Did that come up, meeting space at NYU? It didn't, right?
Any
So,
other
where
follow-up
we-
question?
Anything.
Pardon me, but let's finish this first. Where do we stand on this now? You're comfortable with the
Yeah,
last?
I'm calling the question.
Yes, second, I love, I just want to say, I love the last. If at the moment when this resolution is passed, I love it. Thought
Excellent.
that was a great.
Love is what this is about.
I questioned whether we needed that, but then Stu explained why. It's because if someone says, why do we have this resolution?
Right,
when
it's already done.
Yeah.
Then it explains why.
Yeah, and we want to be,
Yeah, and we wanna be on the record.
we
if
want to be on the
they- yeah.
record, and especially considering how much friggin' work has gone into this.
Are we prepared to vote?
Yes,
Do you want to move? to vote?
yes, move to vote.
Second, a motion of approval for the
It's
resolution.
up to Brendan now.
Okay, so when I call your name,
Happy
please
Brendan.
say whether you are in favor, opposed, abstain, or not entitled. Stu Desser,
In favor.
Justin Goldberg,
Opposed.
Gloria
I
Kay,
didn't get
In
to.
favor?
We can talk about it.
Rupal Picard,
In favor.
Steve Perez,
In favor.
Michael Ann Rowe,
In favor.
and Ann Seligman.
In favor.
With 6 committee members in favor and 1 opposed, this resolution passes.
Okay, do we have another agenda item or are we done?
Well, there's report and old and new business.
We know that the chair has spoken plenty. And that's not something we need more of tonight. But we can talk about old and new business. So we will look at the 311 data and whatever other data we can before the next meeting. We will contemplate, district needs, and budget requests. We will, would we like to invite the 13th precinct commander next month? Because it is a
Yeah.
different precinct.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So we
Here.
will do that.
And I gotta say, I thought that Captain Lamb.
Commander, she's
Yeah, I thought she was awesome.
She's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
and.
But she's taking that evening
we-
away to talk to like, yeah, I appreciate
I
it.
have some potential new business.
I'm sorry,
I have some potential new business.
yes,
And I don't know if it's this cleanliness thing that everyone's like got into my head now because I'm seeing filth everywhere. Subways are disgusting. You go to any other city, anywhere in the world, and you see like at least a clean, relatively clean, like sandblast those walls down with some water, do something. Is there anything we can do to encourage something to make New York look a little better?
well,
Okay,
first
that's it.
of all, there's not a lot of subway stations in our district, so you'd have to point to the ones in our district. that are
Every
so-
single one.
How does anyone feel about this? I mean, we
Oh,
we
yeah.
do handle sanitation.
Which,
I mean, I think it's,
I'm sorry, which station did you say, Gloria?
I'm talking about all of them. I've been in all of them.
Yeah.
They're
yeah, no, I agree.
depressing.
I agree. They're
They're
not,
dark, they're dirty. The walls are dirty.
I mean, they, some of them have been cleaned, like, they have they've been renovated, but it might be nice to be on par with all of the what they did at Hudson Yard, and down on Wall Street and that.
Or on
new
the queue
look.
uptown.
like the Japanese
New
metro
look.
to come here and ask, what did you guys do?
Well, they get more
They're
rehearsed.
They're also private.
None of
They're also
them.
private.
Listen, it doesn't have to be something to
That's true.
discuss
I'm with you
tonight. I
for
just want to put
Okay,
it
well,
out.
we've got that in our minds now. I don't think we want to do that next month, but we do have that in our
What
mind.
I will say, I think, it's my idea with the Link NYC thing is that's just like a small thing. It's a way to pivot into that broader concern. And, if you and I are thinking about it, all of it, like other people are too. So I think everybody can agree that's a major concern. And it's an issue, I think it's also an issue of pride. Like you have pride within yourself when you walk into a
And
subway.
you
you feel-
Yeah.
feeling safe and good.
But you feel good, like, I think, I would love to see that, a kid walks in, he's 5 years old and he feels pride in it, as opposed to like, it's just gross, so.
I don't know, 5-year-olds think, don't.
They do,
Well,
they're cognizant of it though. It's not like they're not explicitly verbalizing it, but they feel, okay, then 7 or 8.
5-year-olds are.
You're just making me upset.
That's true, that's true.
Like, that's what I'm saying.
I have a 5-year-old and watch.
So,
Does the most part, so-
we
Yeah, that's true.
have just decayed into a,
Yes.
anyway. The other item that may happen once again next month, is the question about, how DOB handles, scaffolding and fencing in adjacent properties. So,
Yeah,
DOB, I think will attend. I don't know how Parks feels about it yet. So we'll see, but I'm just giving you a heads up that may be a topic that we address. Anything else? Motion
motion to adjourn.
Second, if you needed a second.
I don't think so.